Every day, we walk around speaking the names of ghosts. We use words and titles that act as locked time capsules, completely unaware of the history trapped inside them. We tend to think history only lives in museums, but take a look at a piece of media from 1873 called La Fille de Madame Ongo. In its day, this operetta was inescapable. It broke massive records in Paris. It ran for an entire year without a break and brought in a profit of 800,000 francs. The production went entirely viral. Knockoff versions and local adaptations flooded theaters in London, Berlin, and New York. Yet despite that staggering financial and cultural footprint, modern society has completely forgotten it exists. Today, its legacy is reduced to a minor footnote in musical theater archives. When a British production company recently considered reviving it, their publicity director rejected the idea, noting that no one has ever heard of it. If a piece of pop culture that massive can be utterly erased from our collective memory in just over a century, we have to ask what else we've forgotten. Names often outlast the people and context they were meant to describe. If the memory of a global blockbuster can evaporate in a single century, the labels we use for our own families have had 700 years to drift away from their original meanings. In 1916, researcher Ernest Weekly compiled these medieval remnants in a book called Surnames. His research highlights a strange contradiction. We view ourselves as highly sophisticated, but we spend our days solemnly addressing each other by the names of beasts, birds, and kitchen implements. We treat our modern surnames like formal family crests, but historically they began as blunt, practical, and often graceless peasant nicknames. Weekly categorizes these origins into a taxonomy, starting with physical traits. In a world without standardized identification, prominent physical features became permanent family names. The same applied to wardrobe. Specific pieces of medieval attire were stamped on the families as costume nicknames. The categories become increasingly literal, tracing names back to specific vegetables, or even the individual kitchen implements a person used in their daily labor. Then there are pageant names. These show how early forms of pop culture and local theater directly dictated what people were called in their own communities. The Latin text of the Doomsday Book shows these descriptors functioning as binding legal identities, documented as the official state record for the peasantry as far back as 1086. Our modern surnames are the surviving fossils of a loud, messy working society. The original context has simply evaporated. A forgotten feeder blockbuster and a mutated medieval nickname are different results of the same phenomenon, language that persists long after its meaning has died. Both exist today in completely mutated forms, one preserved in the sheet music of an archive, the other printed on the layout of a modern driver's license. The next time you introduce a friend by their last name, you are actually speaking the surviving fragments of medieval history. The fossil record of European civilization is residing in your pocket right now, printed on every identification document you carry.